and welcome to our Fabasoft Folio 2011 Summer Release Done event. I will present together with my colleagues our latest release. We shipped yesterday at 4 p.m. Our new release. It's available for download. How could you know? Actually, we posted the message to Twitter, so if you follow us on Twitter, you are able to see the latest news about our product, So what are we going to show you today? We will talk about improvements in the user interface. We will talk about versioning and the released versions. We'll talk about innovations in the archive. We'll have a look at open standards. We'll see the latest supported platforms, and we will close our presentation with an outlook on apps and devices and what we have there in our portfolio. So let's start right now with the new features of the user interface. The key story here is someone says, I need the turnover for our customer baker in Germany. So please give me this value. Last time I showed you how easy this could be accomplished with Folio as is. You select the columns, you copy your columns, you switch to Excel, you paste your columns, and then you can aggregate and sum up the values and filter the values as you need it. And right now, we will show you the improvements, how much easier it is to do this in our product. Scrum Master Hasan Cakmak will show this.
In an email, Mr. David Porter is asked to calculate the total turnover from the customer John Baker for the product group hardware. Mr. Baker is a customer from Germany. And now I want to show you how this can be done with using the new features of the Fabasoft Folio 2011 Summer Release. Now we are here in Fabasoft Folio on the desktop from Mr. Porter, and as you can see, Mr. Porter has a very well-structured customer database, whereas the structure is done using geographical characteristics. So he will easily navigate to the contact person and calculate the values. Well, please focus on the tree structure while I will do that. So I will open the folder Europe, navigate to Germany, and there I have the entry for Mr. John Baker. And now I can open the purchase contract and calculate the values. But I will switch to the root folder again and collapse all entries in the tree, because I want to show you a new and very comfortable way to find entries in the tree structure, which is new in the Fabasoft Folio 2011 Summer Release. I open the context menu on the entry Europe, select Find Entry. Now I can enter a keyword, Baker, using wildcards, and when I click Next, the entry John Baker is selected, and I can navigate to his purchase contracts. It's very easy and it's a very comfortable way to find entries in the tree. Now we have the contract value, the column contract value here for the purchase contracts, and with the new feature of aggregation functions in Fabasoft Folio, you can calculate the sum of these values in a very comfortable way. So just open the menu on the header, select Calculate, and the function Sum to calculate the sum of the revenues. Other functions are Count and Average. For example, I can use this menu to calculate the average of the contract value of these contracts. And now I have here a lot of contracts, but the use case is I want the sum of the contract concerning the product category hardware, and therefore I want to filter these values, and this can be done using the new menu filter column and entering a keyword. Now all values in the list which do not match this pattern are filtered, and I can calculate the sum for the product group hardware very easily. As the head of marketing, David Porter needs additional information about his customers in Germany. Namely, he wants the information about the average age of his customers and the deviation. And now I will show you how this new functionality can be implemented using Fabasoft Abdux. I switch to Eclipse, and first of all, these aggregation functions are delivered as menus. So we need a menu, in this case menu deviation, and behind this menu is a use case. In this case, it is the use case calc deviation. Another way of expanding this functionality is to override existing aggregation functions, which is done for the average value and this can be done using the new customization point aggregation override, where you can redefine the use case which is used to calculate the average value for the attribute birthday, which is the birthday of a contact person. And now we switch to the implementation of this use case. In this case, this is done with a Java implementation where the value is simply calculated from the date values and the result is delivered. The use case has to fulfill predefined parameters which are defined in the aggregation prototype. And now Mr. David Porter has the possibility to calculate these values using the calculate menu in the average or deviation. So we can see that the average age of his customers in Germany is 37.89, and the deviation is about 5 years, which is not much. Another new innovation in the Fabasoft Folio 2011 summer release is concerning working with the detail view, with editing properties of an object, or creating new object or searching. And therefore we created a new possibility to define the target window for applications. So the developer can define whether the application which is implemented should be opened in a new window or should be executed in the same window, and new, you can also define that the application should be executed in an overlay window, which is a modal dialog. And we have also redefined the default behavior of the application so that all existing applications will be executed in overlays. So let's have a look what an overlay is. So I execute an application on Baker John. The application is called show map. And when I execute this map, this menu use case, then the contact person is displayed in Google Maps using an overlay. And in this case, this is a very large overlay. So now I will show you how the developer can define some parameters to optimize this use case. I switch back to Eclipse. And here, the possible parameters are listed for overlays. And first of all, you can define the target window. Default value is this overlay. And you can also define that the application should be executed in the same window or in a new window. And you can also define the overlay size, whereas the default value is overlay size large, which is 90% from the existing, from the available screen, from the available browser window, or you can define medium or small. And you can also define whether the application should be executed in using a new transaction or reusing the existing transaction. So, how this? I switch back again to the Fabasoft Folio to show you how the parameter overlay size will change the look and feel of this application. Therefore, I open the context menu and select the second entry for show map, and the contact person is displayed in a smaller overlay.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, these features are really great. I like to use them every day. Almost, they're already online in the cloud. And they're really easily customized for your project. The next topic we're going to talk about is versioning and the use of released versions in our product. We have a requirement from our customers. They say they're working with released versions and the current version almost at the same time, and they would like us to do some improvement in this area. On the one hand, on the other hand, we implemented a way how to use released versions of documents in the workflow, so user can confirm the released version of a document signed in the workflow. How this is implemented and what innovations are in these topics, Scrum Master Horst Reiterer will show to us.
A release version is a specific version that is marked as such. If you only have read access to an object with a release version, then you see the release version. If you have write access, then all modifications that you do on that object only affect the current version, but not the release version. It's read only. As part of Folio Summerrelease, we modified and enhanced that functionality. For one, we changed the visualization, which means that it's now very easy to determine whether you have a release version available and if you are currently working with the release version. And it's also very easy to switch from release version to current version in the new release. We also checked whether it would be possible to connect workflow with release versions. And I'm going to show you that based on an example. I'm here on the desktop, Fabasoft Folio desktop, and I'm a user who manages contracts. And one of these contracts is stored in this document. And what the user wants to do is share the current state of the document. And one way to do it is using a release version. So we need to create a release version. We release the current version to accomplish that. What you can see is that you now have a red check mark here next to the name, which means that you have a release version available, but you're currently working with the current version of this object. As we are in the current version, we can, of course, modify the object and the content stored in the object. We've modified the name, and we can also change the content. We are in the current version, and at some point you might want to switch to the release version. That's very easy to do based on the menu. You can simply select Use Release Version, and you see this checkmark changes to a green checkmark, which indicates that you are in the release version. You also see that the name changed to the original one. So switching back is as simple. You simply select use current version. Now there might be users who frequently work with release versions, and it might be very straightforward to have this as the default, to see release versions by default. And that's what you can do with Fabasoft Folio Summerrelease now. You can simply set a release version as a default view in the settings. Now if I change it, you see we are in the release version again and have access to it all over Fabasoft Folio, not only in this list view, but also in a search use case, or in the case of sending an object to a different user. Now, at some point I might want to share or to send this document to a user for approval or for some other kind of activity. And that's where the workflow comes into play. As you know, a release version is only a read-only state, so you can't modify it. But as part of the workflow, it's required that you modify the object in order to save the fact that a signature was applied to an object. So we need some kind of new feature to still make it possible to combine workflow and release versions. And what we did is allow specific properties to be modified, even if you work with the release version. And the way we do it is we store the modification in the current version, but still present the changed value in the release version. That's what we can exploit now. We can start a new ad hoc workflow. We select our activity, for example, for information, and the target user, which is David Porter. And the workflow has been started now, and we can switch to David Porter to see whether he has this new task in his task list. There's the new task for information, and here we actually have the release version here. You see the object name reflects that. We can execute the open work item. Here we also have the release version, as you can see from the content. And of course, we can complete the workflow because of the new technology we introduced by clicking accept.
Thank you. The combination of released version and workflow will enable a lot of innovations in our customer solutions, I think. The next topic we're going to talk about is our support for open standards and especially JSON. We use JSON as an alternative to our currently implemented SOAP variant to implement the web services. Generally speaking, some clients are talking via HTTP with the server. Their use case is executed and some data is passed back. Right now, we transfer all this data or encode all this data in XML, hence and forth. And what we implemented now is that you can use JSON to do this data marshalling. If we compare JSON with traditional XML, I have an example here of a product description. Then we may see some key characteristics. So let's look at the JSON first. It's possible to describe compound values. Here we have some product having a name. The product name is Eczema. We have a value named value ID consisting of an array of numbers. Here there are two numbers, and then there is a compound value contact, again with additional properties. Some things we noted are the values can be encoded as a string, or there can be values Boolean true or false, or there can be numbers. And that's it, more or less. If we compare this concrete example here with the XML variant, we see that the JSON is much less redundant, and it's somewhat easier. And it's even easier to parse, especially with JavaScript, as there is in the browsers typically built-in support for JSON. So let's look at an example. We're going to implement a use case where we want to create a shortcut to a website, to a web page in Fabasoft Folio on our desk. That's the way we do this is we are going to pass the URL, the name, and a short description to our web service, and then the object will be created, and we pass back the address of the new created object. The implementation here is built a way that we first check all our desk if there is already an URL object having the same URL. In this case, we return null for the sake of this use case here. Otherwise, we create a new URL object. We set the parameters we passed in on this object, the URL, the name, and the description, and we finally add it to the list of at our root object, our desktop. Okay, that's the use case. Now we have to expose this use case as a web service. How does this look like? Here we have a web service definition. In the web service definition, we define a name, how to access this web service from the outside. And then there may be multiple use cases within this single web service. So there is an additional list here where we use a symbolic name. In this case, create link. It's the same name as the use case we use to denote the outside interface of this web service point. Okay, so we define this web service. Now we build a sample page. Here, what we can see is the names again we did. We have here the reference of the web service with some additional things to denote the software component we're developing. We have here the name of the use case within this web service, and we have here a prefix to denote that this web service we are using will be used via JSON. Then we have the parameters we pass in. We have the URL, we have the name, and we have an additional description here. I'll leave it blank for now. And then I can build my request. So again, we see the URL we're using with the parts we already talked about. We see the request body where we pass in the URL parameter, the name, and the description. Okay, so this body will be taken and passed on to the web service. I'll do it right now. So I say send. So we get a response body here where we see the object address of the newly created object. And we wrote here that we did everything successfully. So I'll switch to my Folio desktop here, refresh, and see here is the shortcut to the web page we already created. Okay, so we created this request body with the JSON style value encoding. And in our sample, these parameters are rather simple. So it would be nice if we could omit the part of creating this JSON body and just parse the parameters as an URL. So we implemented this too. Here in this sample, I can build an HTTP GET request where all the parameters are just passed in the URL. Again, we have the same parameters here, but instead of passing them in the request body, we pass the URL and the name. The description is omitted in this case, this is blank, again, to our web service. Before I submit the request, I have to do some change here so that we create a new URL. I regenerate the request, I send the request, and okay, again, we had this shortcut here on our desktop with a really easy interface of just doing a get and reading back the results as a JSON request. Okay, so now we have built the use case, we have built a kind of sample to demonstrate the use and test the use, and now we're going to make an application. What I'm going to implement here is a web application for the Chrome browser. The typical web applications are listed here. I can go to the store and add an additional application. I didn't do this, but I can add an application here too under the tools. Extension sections. There is my extension. It's called create a shortcut to this page in Fabasoft Folio, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. This extension is made up from some files. One of these is the manifest describing the extension. That's the text we already saw here. And essentially there's a background page where the functionality is implemented. And in this background page, here we have the same code to create the get URL we are going to use afterwards. Here we have the head of the URL, and then we add the name parameter, the URL parameter, and an additional description. The rest of this URL is opened in an XML HTTP request, and when we successfully got some text back, this text can be parsed using the built-in JSON parser. So here JSON comes into place, and we could really easily work with some complex arguments. For the sake of our example, we just show an alert where we see the response text to see what's going on. The rest of this page here just implements the plumbing to get this working, and then this function is called. So where is our extension here located? It's this folio icon right in the upper right area of the browser. And if I go to a website, for example, our blog, Fabasoft Folio, I can select the block entry, of course, and then there I can go there, select the text, and click on the folio icon. I get back the feedback, the alert we just saw in the JavaScript text, and now on our desktop, if I refresh it, here I got the new shortcut. It has the name is the title of the page, the URL is located here, and the subject is the text I selected in the browser.